Hey guys, thank you for joining. This is the 14th episode of Indu StartUp HaraTe. Today we are going to be talking about SaaS and other services and a lot more. Today we have with us Indu Navar, who's a seasoned entrepreneur, founder of Geekly and Zenota, and lots of other things with the companies have focused on services, products, and she helps with strategy, M&A, and lots of other things, right? So without delaying this, Indu, thank you so much for doing this. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
And
I
hello,
was
hello,
saying that
Manda.
there's a fun waiting to happen here. Let's sass it up.
Yeah.
Let's let's sass it up,
Yeah.
right? So Indu again, thank you. Quickly, would love to know how your entrepreneurial journey started.
So I'm an electrical engineer from Bangalore University. So I came to United States to do my master's in computer science. I came to California. And I think I would say probably, now looking back, I always knew I wanted to do something on my own, just launch a company. I guess I always saw my father start companies and be an entrepreneur. And that was something inspired me from being, very young age. And of course, I didn't know if I was capable of doing or not. So that's the journey of entrepreneurship, right? So after I finished my master's, I came to the Bay Area. I worked at NASA for about a year or so, and then I joined Silicon Graphics when Silicon Graphics was the company to work for. And when Jim Clark started Healthy On, which is called WebMD today, I helped start Healthy On. And that was my first entrepreneur, journey. That's how it started. And we were a bunch of people who were trying to figure out how to crack the healthcare industry. And after about 3.5 years, we went IPO in 1999. And that was the time when I said, this is time for me to launch something on my own. So after, trying a few ideas, and I launched a Saas Corporation, which was, we built a software for outsourced manufacturing companies to help them with real-time analytics when they outsource their manufacturing to figure out what are the financial exposure. And my customers were like, Cisco, AMD, NVIDIA, all of the, high-tech companies. I launched that in 2001, January. And that's when I started, and I was a CEO and founder for about 13 years. I ran the company before I sold it in 2013.
Nice. So I'm sure WebMD was one of those first healthcare things where a lot happened. So Alinda, you did get onto Zenota where it was services, and I read that it was providing platform to services company. Anta, was that right?
So Saas, for example, Saas was actually a SaaS product because when I started Saas, I started as an on-demand because we did not have anything called SaaS at that time. It did not make any sense for me to say, why would any company want to put an enterprise and create all these data centers? And so I created an on-demand solution. So and eventually in 2005, I raised VC financing. And that's when we converted completely into SaaS software. So we kind of, that's when everything was software as a service came up, the business model. And so we were always software as a service in a lot of ways. We were on demand to moving into software as a service. Was not big stretch, but it was just a pricing and financial reasoning we had to give. But we converted 100% of our customers from enterprise software kind of licensing model to SaaS, monthly, which they paid yearly. But yes, I was in the forefront of the whole SaaS, uptick.
Right. So when you do a SaaS product itself, how different is it from, say, any other product, say consumer electronics? So what are typically the challenges that come with the SaaS as a service? Sorry, software as a service.
I think software as a service is a very different business model. You got to think of it as ground up because it's not something you ship to the customers and you're done. right? You have to deliver, and you have to, it's kind of a very strong partnership, because you have to make sure that you actually guarantee them, 98% uptime, or, whenever you're going to be down, you kind of have to, it's almost like you have to show your laundry. You need to show there is no hidden place here. So, which actually creates a very good culture of customer-centric company. So it makes you know what your customers' pain are, and how do you actually service your customers in a way. And that also, the benefit of that is you create a loyal customer, you create a lifelong customer, you create a very strong partnership, because then it becomes a win-win. So that's what I loved about SaaS software, and that's kind of why I even started when I started in 2001. It does not make any sense for me to ship something to the customers. And we don't do that, right? I mean, we don't ship like something, say, for example, you buy a hardware. Nobody just ships a broken hardware and say, oh, you go in and hire consultants to go in and make it work. And that's how software industry used to work. They would ship something and then say, get an implementation team, right? And implementation team will make it work for you. And it just did not make sense to me. It's like, no other industry does that. And how come in software we do that? And then you have all these different companies who are making money out of that, right? And and then the customers don't know what they get, because it's just a platform you're getting, and then you have to hire all these consultants to make it work. So I think the SaaS software is a very clear metric. You deliver what you say you're going to deliver, and you have to, keep it. There's an uptime, there's a service component as well. That's why it's software as a service, right? You provide software and also the service to make sure that you're actually delivering this day-to-day services, in terms of making sure it's updated, it's it's up and running, and if it's not up and running, it's kind of, it digs you and the money that they're going to pay on a monthly basis. And that's why software as a service has, if you look at the valuation of the company, if you're going for venture capital financing or even the exit, you get 10 to 12x your revenue. So it's hard to make it work, but when you make it work, there's a lot of reward to it. But if you look at consulting or even enterprise software, it's a 2 to 3x revenue. So it's your valuation shows, what kind of company you want to build. For a $10 million enterprise software company, you're worth, 25 to 30 million. If you're 10 million as software as a service, you're already, 100 to 110 million dollar company. So that's the reward that you work with, but it's very different mindset.
So can you talk to us a little bit about why exactly it is hard to be a SaaS startup rather than a consulting or a regular services based startup?
Like I said, it's a mindset that you need to say, I'm going to deliver something and I'm partnering with the customer. And also there is an upfront cost involved, because in enterprise software, you can say, okay, I'm going to sell this, which, kind of my business model was that way when I started Cirrus, where I got Quantum Corporation as my first customer, who gave me $250,000. And, they said, okay, we will buy your license and deliver it, and then use your services to actually complete it. So what I did was, when I first started, it was like alpha version of my product. I sold it as a license and used the services to implement it. And so you can kind of do things like that. But in SaaS, if you say, it's a monthly fee, and you can actually ask for upfront annual fee, which we did, but it has to work. They're not going to pay you until it starts working, right? So there is the upfront cost involved. So you need to figure out. So and also, your ramp is a little bit later, because your enterprise software, the way we do the metric is, for software as a service, over 3 years, 2.5, 3 years of software as a service revenue is equal to your enterprise software revenue. So you will get but then the nice thing about software as a service is they don't have license, they're leasing the software. So that means after 2 to 2.5 years after that, it's all pure, margin. So it's a lease. So if they stop using it, but in an enterprise software, they have a license. So, even if they stop paying you maintenance, it's okay, they can still have it. So it's a little bit different. So it's hard to build because of the mindset. And I think a lot of people go into the services industry because it's kind of, you kind of say, what do you say? You get tempted to say, oh, I've got the first revenue so easily when you start the company. But I would say, think about the long term, because long-term valuation is what matters.
Right. And so the price point also is it safe to say it's a lot more attractive in the case of a SaaS service rather than an enterprise license kind of model, right? Because there is a recurring cost to be paid. Like you say, it's a lease. It's not absolute ownership at any given point in time.
Correct. Exactly.
Can you talk to us a little bit about the kind of product you built at Cirrus? So you mentioned you built a product for outsourced manufacturing companies. What exactly did the product do? What kind of problems did it solve?
So what I realized was just interviewing a lot of companies, large companies like Cisco, AMD, NVIDIA. They had spent, I think, over in the model of the enterprise software, over $150 million on enterprise Oracle or SAP to make all the modules work. But what I realized was they were still using Excel spreadsheets. So when it came to whenever they had to outsource manufacturing, that means it's a collaboration with different partners, outside vendors. It was all done through Excel spreadsheet. Everybody would give them Excel, and then they're trying to figure out, to make sense out of it and feed it into their enterprise software. So what we built was a layer on top of their ERP. So it would work SAP or Oracle or any other ERP. And we would collaborate with the vendors. We would bring in all the data in real time as we can. And, they would have 40, 50 vendors, but also when you have the vendors, they all did different things. Some of them did, the first part like fab, and then somebody would do assembly and somebody would do testing, and, and then they had different complicated business models where they would have semiconductor and where packaging, they would bring different chips and put it together. And so we would actually take all those things, automated the whole, process to know what's happening in a dashboard. And then we would have analytics on top of it. And so they could do a lot of what if analysis. What if the orders, go down? What do they need to do? So they could mitigate and say, oh, this is where my financial exposure is, so I'm going to reduce it. And also we had another bigger, which I would say flagship product, was quality control. So for example, I think this was very early, I would say 2004, 2005, when NVIDIA sent their product to Apple. They realized that it had heat problem, and they had to recall everything. That's because one of the testing vendor did not go through the testing protocol that they had set up. And they have no way, when you outsource, you can't really monitor it. And that's something we started monitoring, because we could actually look at what the design or the test criteria is going to be, and we can actually look at every process that's happening. So we would very clearly say, are they adhering to the protocol or not? So there were a lot of those things we would do to make sure that when you outsource your manufacturing, they still had as much control, as much visibility as though they were doing it in their four walls. So it's and also the financial aspect as well. We would in real time calculate what they actually have to pay the vendor, instead of getting the invoice and then figuring out what this invoice is. We reversed the whole thing and said, this is what we look like, this is what our contracts are, and here is what we'll pay you. And if you have to reconcile, then you go do it. So that was another product that was very, very well received, because I think that got us into Oracle as well, because Oracle started using it for their Sun Microsystem manufacturing.
Right. Can't help but think that there is also an element of process discovery and automation that you achieved here.
Yes.
So I have a question for you in the context of cloud. So back when you built Cirrus, and it was SaaS, which means it had to be hosted somewhere and it was consumed from there. Now, what kind of resistance would you say you encountered from the manufacturing sector when it came to using something on the cloud, right? And from there, I have questions for you about your opinion on how it is perceived in other sectors.
Yeah, very good question, because especially very early, right? We started in 2001 and trying to say, and we were selling it to large customers, because we had to, definitely there was a little bit of resistance. This was challenging. A part was that, like education, but because we were already dealing with outsourced manufacturing and they already knew that they've outsourced it and the data is coming from outside, there was less, I could actually give a very good justification, because right now they're receiving data in Excel spreadsheets. How secure is that? It's
Right.
sitting on someone's inbox, right? So what we showed was that we were a lot more secure platform to get the data in through secure protocols than trying to do it through Excel spreadsheet on an email. And also I realized that when the pain is high, this is also very important. Are you building a vitamin or a painkiller? When a pain is high, people will change, and people will hear your value proposition. So I would say the pain, when it started getting high, when we could say that, we already have connection to, say, 80% of their vendors already. When I went to, Juniper or, one of those large companies, we already had 80% of the vendors, their own vendors. And they said, oh, it's a no-brainer. You already have. So I would say we already have the plumbing to the vendors that you work with. All I have to do is open the tap, right? So, do you want to go and put all the plumbing yourself? And so I think that value proposition helped, and so did for Oracle, for example, when they called me and they had not used cloud at all, right? At that point, this was, I would say, 2009, 10, when they got Sun, and I didn't first believe that they actually would use our product. I was thinking there are 40 people from product management team who was actually listening to my pitch. And I'm going, are they going to write their own? Why are there 40 people in this meeting? But they actually bought the product, and they did not, there was a little bit of negotiation about, you should give it to us for free and we will get you the customers. And I said, well, if you guarantee me you're going to give me X million of dollars every year, I'll give it to you. Can you give it to me? It guaranteed. They said no. I said, then I can give you for what you're asking for. So they did not negotiate. They gave me full price. And it was on the cloud. So I would say I've made today, those people who were decision makers are my best friends, because I remember sitting on the other side and going, we've never used cloud. And that was the time when Larry Ellison was saying cloud is a myth. And if you remember, you would have like big banners. They said, we will use your product because we don't do licensing. This only way it works is on the cloud. So I would say we were the first vendor that we ever worked with, software vendor, outside product. I think I have a PO which was signed by Larry Ellison. The second one was that we were the first product that they used, which was on the cloud. So they said, hey, we need to give it a try, and they did. And so yeah, it's still on the cloud for them. So yes, it wasn't, I'm sure that was the challenging part, but there was a way to get into it.
And quickly, what do you make of the difficulty people still have trying to sell solutions, especially in sectors like banking and financial services, where there is an inherent resistance towards moving solutions on the cloud? Can I quickly get your take on that?
Yeah, I think one thing that we did not have is regulations. So we were just more fighting people's perception of what security means. I think regulated industry, definitely there is a lot more issues, but I've worked with, or I've talked to the CIO at Wells Fargo on another topic where we were actually interviewing all the CIOs for Zendota project. And what they were saying was they can actually segregate what is regulated data and what is a data that they can actually use on the cloud. So they're getting very smart about, they want to use cloud. From what I hear is that from the CIOs and from the IT team, they want to harness this, power of the technology because they know they will be left behind otherwise, but they are able to segregate the regulated part and the where they actually don't have the regulation. So that's what I see, is that if you want to go in, you have to really deeply learn about what is regulated data and what are the things that you can do. But I do see there's a lot of openness into doing that.
So quickly, before we move to my question, I want to call out for people watching online, if you guys have any questions, feel free to comment and I'll take it up next. Right. But on continuing on what we were talking, so ivaga if there is a disrupting product or thought process or even a vertical that you are up against, like in your case, it was cloud, right? So when you go there and then pitch to them that, hey, here is my new thing, and that they don't believe in that, what are typically the challenges? I mean, even when you're talking to them and trying to convince them, was it your product and the features of the product itself, or were you thinking, I'll crack this vertical and then introduce cloud to Oracle?
Adu, really good question. I think you have to believe in yourself. I mean, you gotta. I think I was obsessed that this is the way. And I remember HaraTe was the VP of operations at AMD. I somehow got a meeting with him, and we were 5 people in my company at that point, and pretty much I took a whole company to go to meet him, and he had like a few people, and we had an audacious proposal to him that where you messed up, because we read all the SEC filing. Here are the things you messed up in, and if you work with us, we will take you to Dell-like model, right? Where Dell was actually innovated this thing where they would actually pay the vendor after they sell the product. So they had a very good cash flow situation. And yeah, we gave them a presentation saying, we know how to take you to Dell-like model, and you messed up. And it's very interesting. Eventually, we got a small project and then a big project, and we did all of AMD. So this is over 3 or 4 years. But he tells me that he didn't know what to make out of our proposal, because he's like, these people, 5 people, they come to my office. They've never worked in this industry. They have no idea, but they have the audacity to come in and say, I will change your business. This is where you're wrong. And he said, but there was some believing thing. So he was inspired by what we were doing too. So we kind of got a right champion where he thought, it was just really cool that we were actually thinking, we could actually change. And they're like, I don't know, 20,000 people working at AMD. They were like, looking at but we inspired him. And he told me once over dinner, he said, I have to say, we all laughed after you guys left, saying, I can't believe these people, but there's something here that we want to, explore. So I think that's the whole thing. I didn't think I was, you got to believe in it, right? Your conviction, you actually are selling your conviction, because there's nothing else to sell, right? I mean, I'm not Microsoft, I'm not Amazon. I mean, like, you don't have a brand, but what you have is your conviction and your belief and your truth. And I think that's kind of what people buy, to say, wow, if you believe in it so much, I think I want to explore a little bit. Of course, there was a whole things that we had to do since then. It wasn't like, he gave us a PO after that, but that got us into the door. The conviction and the, that you have to believe in it. You have to believe you're going to change the world.
I hear you. So the biggest problem is at that point, when you are like a 4 people, 5 people company, the confidence that with which you can go and approach these people and then get things done is important. That can be intimidating. Like you are a 5 people company and you're walking into AMDs and Oracles of the world, and then they go, why are you telling us we are the masters of these things, and then you're telling us that we have a problem? Not okay. Can be their attitude, or at least it would come across as that. And then the fact that you found the right person who is able to appreciate your confidence in product.
Yeah, I mean, I remember after that, he said, okay, we're going to come and do site visit. Those were the days when people want to And we were in a little office in Mountain View. Like literally, it was like, 150 square foot office. We're like, how many people? And we look at them, there are 15 people who are coming over, and we're only 5 people. And so we actually told it's kind of the office space, where all the accountants and everybody are there. We talked to everybody that if we can use our, name tag on all their offices doors. And then we had like everybody, I told everybody, you invite your brother, sister, everybody has to be working, and we have to show that we're more than 15 people, because so it was really funny. It's like, anyway, things we had to do to show that we were bigger. So there are some things which is conviction, but at the same time, that, people are used to, somebody wanted to do a site visit, and I wanted to get that checked off saying, okay, they have a bigger office. And it was like in a little, building in Mountain View. And I remember coming that morning, and it was raining. And it's dripping, and there's a bucket there. And I'm like going, oh my God, what are we going to do? It's like, anyway, so it's now looking back, it's all fun stories. And, we managed it and we got the deal. So.
No, that is awesome. So on a lighter note, this happened to us too. Some guys from Google were coming over, and then we were 6 people. And then, so there was a conference room at the very beginning of the office. We said, yeah, let's sit here. There's some construction going on, and also people are wired in and things like those. And then they said, don't worry, we know you're 6 people.
This was in 2002, 2003. So the startup culture, at least the Googles of the world, were not like, it wasn't cool yet. I mean, it was there, like, 2 people in the garage, but it wasn't like, young people and cool. I mean, like, I'm glad that now people don't focus on that so much.
Right. So I want to change gears a little bit and go from software as a service and things like those two. There are certain services companies which offer their expertise, and then they build just services, including the most common are maybe build apps and do analytics and things like those. So is that still cool? Can they be treated as startups which can raise money and then go the journey of a startup?
Well, it depends on the aspiration of the founder and the CEO on what they want to do. Definitely. I mean, I think even, even totally services company, like a good friend of mine, Raju Reddy, who started Sierra Atlantic, which is completely services company. He did the whole VC financing and, and built it, and very successfully built it in the Valley here. So I think it depends on, what your aspiration is, and how you can tell the story of building a sustainable business model that can actually capture the market. So I would say it's more of a, what is the problem you're trying to solve, and how big is the problem you're trying to solve, and how big do you want to be? Absolutely.
So if I just want to do hey, I'll make you Android and iOS apps, you can't be raising money for that.
Well, if you can show that, you can actually, make millions of dollars by just doing that, because you found some neat way to do it, right? If you're going to say, hey, I can build this within 1 hour, and I can give it to the customers to do it because I have a platform to do it, right? I mean, somehow you can show that there is a neat way you're disrupting the existing way of doing things. Yeah, I think that's, and it's really, what are you disrupting, right? If you're going to be, that reminds me of one of the gentlemen I had met, I think it was 2001, just when I started the company. He had started another Ethernet company, and his name of his company was At Another Ethernet Company. Like, it's like why, it's kind of YAC. I mean, he had the acronym, and I'm like, what is that called? He's like, At Another Ethernet Company.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a company which is yet another shopping list. That's their name. So that's interesting, but good to know. And you are investing in startups as well, if I'm not wrong, when it's right. So good to know that's how you're thinking in terms of, anyone can come and propose if they have the right proposition and stuff.
I have a question. Sorry, go ahead. Please finish.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'm not part of any VC firm or anything like that. But I'm an angel investor, and I usually, you're in the ecosystem. You have friends, and it's kind of, and I'm an LP in a couple of funds. It's just like, I'm in the ecosystem.
Got it.
So I hear what you said about, there has to be a solution, something that's a value proposition, and no points for just having a sweatshop, right? That's understandable. But would you, as an angel investor, agree to invest in a startup that didn't really have solutions, but said, hey, I want to provide services in the AI space, right? Now, artificial intelligence services, we know it's very different from doing regular software services, right? So is it okay for somebody who claims to be an AI startup to not have a solution? Would you still back that organization?
Because I go in very early, because, it's mainly for the ecosystem, I tend to back the people, who are, whom I know or who I believe in, because a startup journey is a very interesting one. It's all about how do you maneuver, how do you change, how do you navigate, because a lot of challenges that happen. Sometimes you have to even change the way, what you thought was really gonna be your mission or your vision will alter. So it's mainly, I look at whom are you backing, the people. So I don't know, but yes, I am interested in technology. I am interested in, but we know when, what was it? When first Hotmail came up, right? Everybody thought it was crazy. How could Sabir Bhatia kind of, he came in and he said, I'm going to do mail. Everybody's going to be sending mail. They're like, what are you talking about? Right? So there's always this thing of, you kind of need to know whom you're backing, right? I mean, so we don't know what we don't know a lot of the times, but I would say it's the entrepreneur you back, because, that's why they're entrepreneurs.
Right. Got it. So I want to know a little more about the logistics of this entire investor ecosystem that you are part of, right? So how, since you said you're not part of any groups or any VC firms, etc., how do people reach out to you, or how do you look out for these startups? And then is that like, say, an angel list syndicate, or how does that work for you?
Yeah, it's mainly, it's been, word of mouth.
Okay.
And it's just word of mouth, and it's friends, and so it's really been just word of mouth.
And is that the direction you're headed, as in take it beyond angel and then look at the VC firm and things like that? Do you think on those lines?
No, I might be. I'm still thinking of probably starting a fund mainly focused on rare diseases, focusing on healthcare and AI technology, bringing technology innovation to healthcare. And I'm also interested in participating. That is actually very early investor of mine who is actually creating a fund, and I might participate as a limited partner there, which I will actually. So I will invest, but sometimes not directly, and sometimes directly, and sometimes, so now my next phase is I'm trying to set up a fund.
Let's talk about that a little bit, Indu. So why don't you talk to us about the initiative that you've been planning for ALS specifically, and the personal story you have behind it?
Yeah, as you know, we're all in the high tech, especially in the Bay Area. We're very focused on what's always solving a problem, right? We see some challenges and we're going, hey, there's a great opportunity to solve it. And coming from that ecosystem, and my husband was at Amazon for 18 years. He built Amazon Cloud and many other, Mechanical Turk, many other innovations. And we started Zendota together, which was an umbrella company to invest, advise in startups and large companies who were innovating, who were actually transforming from, where they are to cloud. And he was diagnosed with ALS, and he passed away last August. And that was definitely a wake-up call for me and my family, I would say, because everything we believed in, kind of, at least everything I believed in, shattered. Everything I believed that when if there's a problem, you can solve it and you are in control of it, kind of shattered. Because I feel like I had a charmed life, very good family, very good parents who took care of me. And this was definitely one of those things which stared at me as I was going through it, when we were going through the healthcare system, how broken it is. How, when someone's sick, it's kind of, the right hand does not talk to the left hand. The collaboration is missing. The information is missing. We didn't know any other people who had ALS because of the regulations that they can't really introduce you. It's really broken. So especially for rare disease community, there's 7,000 rare diseases today. There are over 40 million people living with rare diseases today. And if you really see, how many people are affected by somebody in their household with rare disease, if you take their mother, father, brother, sister, there are 100 million people in the US, just in US, right? Have been affected by some rare disease. And so my goal is, when I looked at the overall market itself, we always look at it as why the drug companies don't want to invest, because there's not many people for them to go and go do something about it, because, how am I going to make money? But that's a wrong metric to look at. That's absolutely a wrong metric. That is a metric a drug company is using to justify why they're not going into it. But as a society, as a human being, that's a completely wrong metric, because you need to look at it as what is the value of human beings? What is the society impact? What is, of having all of these people sick, and how much the cost of each person to take care of them when they're sick is much more, like in the magnitude of 10 to 20x than what we're putting into research. So we are spending this huge amount of money every year to take care of these sick people, but we are not putting money into the research to actually come up with solutions for this. So it just doesn't, make sense. And so with that in mind, after he passed away, I started Peter Cohen Foundation, focused on really rare diseases. And what we want to do is create a template for ALS and use that template to every rare disease. And the goal is to accelerate coming to market with commercialized products. And secondly, we want to be able to break the model on how, today it's working, because the rare disease, the way it works is that how blood pressure medication is done, or, heart medication. That's a lot of people, and you have certain supply chain works. And for rare diseases, it doesn't work. So we want to be able to actually come up with a way to change that model. And the third is bring technology, because there's a lot of innovations that's happening. We have wearables, we have a lot of AI and ML to look at different biomarkers, like the speech and like the retina, like, muscle strength, there's so many different technologies available. So we want to bring all of that technology, software innovation to diagnose these diseases early, and also help with coming up with, cure faster.
God, see, I have to say, a lot of people face issues in their lives, and then either they go into their shell, or they, bounce back, and then a lot of people bounce back and then do well with and continue with their lives, etc. With, of course, the void it creates. But it is rare to see that people learn from it and then go towards solving the issues, or even for that matter, contributing. And especially in this case, you've had a history with healthcare and working with healthcare industry and things like those. So really appreciate what you're doing for ALS community as well. And rare diseases are such intimidating ones, especially for the ones who look at them closely. How's the community reacting to that, especially tech? Now that you've seen it firsthand, and then you go talk to other entrepreneurs, investors, etc. Are they waking up to it? Are they warm about it? How are they reacting to it?
Yeah, it's just amazing. It's like, for me, I have grown as a human being through this experience. I mean, I think probably I connect with people at a different level than I did before. And I don't know if it's because of that or it's just the topic itself. It's I do feel people actually show their human side rather than a, hey, what are we going to do next side. I think everybody's got a story, and I'm just amazed with how many people who are like who's who can come in and cry in front of me and tell me their own story, their own what's happening to them or their family members. So it's definitely, we kind of leave all the, are you a tech entrepreneur thing? And I think we connect at the human level and our skill level. And we say, hey, look, we have all achieved something for a reason. And I feel like everything I've learned is for a reason, probably to solve this. And one thing is that we all know 100%, we're all going to go through that healthcare tunnel, right? If we don't actually invest today when we're able-bodied and our family is okay, we will come to a point where you'll be caught off guard just like me, right? When we got in there, it was too late for us. So I tell people, don't wait. If you can do something in healthcare, and I was the same way. I'm like, if somebody talked me about healthcare, idea, I'd be like, no, not interested. Sorry, too many regulations, not a business model that I want to go after. But now I feel like, we have to. Everything we've done in the technology innovation, if we can take the same mindset and bring to the healthcare, there's so many disruptions we can see, and we can really solve this. And I'm very, very motivated, and I'm inspired because being inside this last, this year, early this year is when we launched our foundation. The amount of people who collaborate with me in these large institutions like Mass General, Harvard, or Johns Hopkins, Gladstone, and MIT. I mean, these are people I work with on a day-to-day basis. I am just blown away with how much collaboration I see. So they are looking for people to come in and help. They are looking to come in, with the right, with the right match. So I would say time is really good. I think people are embracing it, and I think it's going to be the next wave that we're going to hit here. I think this is going to be the next, next wave for innovation.
Got it. See, completely see a potential there. Definitely. It is tough to convince people to, like, say a pharmacy company, etc. How do you motivate them? What you're working on has a bigger reason than short-term profits. Coincidentally, my wife works at NASA Moffett Field as well. So her research is all on molecular biology and external ET life and things like those, right? So, Alunu, I see there is lack of funding, but the work is such great work that they do. But it is a little tough to sell that long-term vision to people. Is there anything people can do about it?
It depends on what you're trying to do. For example, what we're focusing on is, at least in the rare diseases, many of the rare diseases don't have early diagnostics. So what happens is that people, the way we diagnose some of these diseases is look at all the other diseases that you don't have. I mean, to show, it's called method of elimination. That is, we spend a lot of money to say, let's test you on all these 50 diseases. And if it's all negative, then you have this. It's a huge amount of cost. And also it's huge amount of time. This takes about 12 to 24 months to get diagnosed. And so pharmaceutical companies know that when they get patients, when they want to do clinical trial, they never get them early because they get them later stage. And even though their drug could work, they can't really show the efficacy because, so they are motivated to work with us because we're solving this problem. So it's all alignment, align with people. as to what problems that they're trying to solve as well. And we believe that without good diagnostics, you can't come up with a cure. So and also with the technology innovation, we can actually do a lot of early diagnostics, because we have now wearables. Our watch says a lot of things, right? We have so many IoT tools. We have, today with technology innovation, we can bring so many of those to do early diagnostics, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Got it. No, excellent point. But I want to keep a quick check on time as well. We are almost there. But one wrap up question which we have common, we ask everyone who comes on the show is, outside of all this work, everyone can get busy and all of those things. Outside of this work, what happens? What's your life like? How do you make sure you have some time for yourself and you do things that you like, perhaps outside of this?
This is what I like doing. My foundation.
That's very. I was interested to know what
do you
happens.
mean? That's inside, outside, everything.
Right.
So I am very close to my family. We spend, we spend a lot of time together, and especially with COVID, we do a lot of Zoom calls. And I do have a son who is actually in college. He is he goes to USC, and so I think I'm blessed. I'm blessed with having very, very close family, and who actually kind of checks on me all the time to make sure I'm balanced too. So what do I do other than that? I do work out. Workout is a big thing for me, and I do run, brisk walking, and I used to fly Cessna 172 and 152 in Palo Alto Airport. So I haven't done that in a while, but that's something that I like to do. Is I'm an outdoors person and like to be in the outdoors sometimes.
Sweet.
I've got to say, Indu, you're trying to cure rare diseases. You fly a plane. You work out. You aren't doing enough.
Yeah. No, it is very inspiring for sure.
Absolutely. And it is our privilege that we got to have this conversation with you. It is absolutely amazing. It's inspiring to listen to your story about the work that you're doing for those afflicted with rare diseases, for your leadership in the Saas and startup scene. I think it's wonderful that there is a person such as you around. So thank you for that.
Thank you. I guess I gotta speak something in Kannada, because both my, my Amma and my Appaji both of them are watching. So you gotta talk to me something in Kannada so they know that actually
No, let me ask you about movies. Do you watch movies? Kannada movies nodtira, never nodidira in general?
Nodidini, but recently nodila. So yeah,
that's a good start.
You noted last Kannada movie yavadanta heli?
Oh my God, I think it's like probably in 1991 or something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ranadira. No, not really.
might be after that too, but I don't remember.
Right.
I have to say I'm not a big movie buff, so it's not like anything with Kannada, but it's yeah. But
no, you don't need
is there a good Kannada movie to watch?
Tons of those. I'll send you a list of those.
Okay. Why did you do that?
On Kitak we do a weekly show. It's called Kitak Watch List, where we recommend movies as well. So Kitak Ali, we make short films. We do podcasts.
Yeah,
like
I saw your short film. One of them. Yeah, it was good.
Oh, which I'm now curious. Yav nodidri?
At the beach, conversation on the beach about this guy who's cut off his, he had an accident.
Yeah. That was my first time writing anything. So,
really?
No, it was an experience. But no, there'll be a movie about all the work that you are doing one day for sure. So,
thank you.
Right. Yeah.
I do want to say that it actually warms my heart that what we're doing right now with ALS and the advocacy, and we bring in people every 2 weeks And Ishtonjana, Bangalore in the Karnataka, and even India, all over India, they actually join. And I do get to meet people, and because I have no access for ALS in India, and it just really warms my heart. There's another connection that I feel, for people from India.
Indu, whether you speak Kannada or not, you are a Kannadati, you are a Kannadiga because you're a Kannadiga.
No,
One doesn't
awesome.
have to speak the tongue to be a Kannadiga. So you are one. I have no doubt about that.
Thank you for that vote of confidence and a seal. Now I got it.
for sure.
Yeah.
Now go fly high. That's all it is. But Indu, thank you so much. This was awesome. Love the conversation. Thank you again.
Thank you for inviting me here. Have a great day.
Take care, guys.